Hello, guys. Welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. I'm Alex Whiteley, and today I'm joined with a good friend of mine who I've met a couple of times at different events here, there, and everywhere. But we've done like Vox Pox sort of interviews that have been like 5 minutes long. But this is our opportunity to sit down and slowly get to know Sam Pooley-Stride. How are you, Sam? You all right?
I'm okay. I'm a bit stressed because I'm at the point of I'm literally doing the final pieces for a show, which I'm going to talk to you about. So I'm at the really scary point where I'm working with a lot of different people, and what I really want to be doing is sitting in my studio, painting all day. Yeah. But actually, what I am doing is I have been just coordinating everything all the time and managing people, which is a bit boring, really, rather than creating.
It's something that I find quite difficult because, with a lot of radio people and a lot of, even the bigger podcasts and stuff, they have a full team behind them. They have editorial teams, they have people that will go out and they have agents and they have things that can book for them. And I don't have that. So I have to there's sometimes where I have to step away from doing what I love, which is behind the microphone, to actually running the show. And trying.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays, the entrepreneurial creative has to literally do everything. They have to be the accountant, they have to be the head of advertising, they have to be the marketing, they have to be, they have to clean the loo, they have to do everything. And it's really, it actually, I don't know about you, but doing the creative bit is sometimes bottom of the list. And it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating, actually. But it is just part of the course now. And part of, I think, the modern creative is, we have so many more opportunities now to show our work, to be more entrepreneurial because of Instagram, because of podcasts, because of technology. It does mean that we have to step up a lot, if that makes sense. So it's a really, really good thing. But instead, in the old days, you'd be a painter and I'd be sitting in my studio painting all day and I wouldn't be thinking about how I'm going to sell them. I'd just be painting. Yeah. And now I'm thinking about how I'm going to sell them, who I'm going to sell them to, what's my Instagram post today. It's just a really different. So I think we're really lucky because when we're proper you're doing it. You're properly doing it,
barely.
But you're, but it's entrepreneurial, isn't it? It is. Yeah. It's which is why we're working at 10 o'clock at night and getting up at 6 and then doing the school run
and a full-time job, isn't it?
Yeah. But, it is.
So you're busy putting an exhibition together, which is really, really cool. But I think
last time I saw you. Was properly, the last time you saw, when we met was at my first ever solo show, which was at Seize the Moon.
Yes.
In the studio, next to my studio, in the illegal warehouse.
Yeah, I got a picture of you, which I stole off the Soden Collection Facebook. So, Jonathan, I hope you don't mind me using this picture, but there you are. In that upstairs illegal car park bit that we used on top of Wilkinson's. That was interesting.
So that exhibition, I saw you.
Yes, you did.
And then it opened. We had a chat about the exhibition. I told you about it. An hour later, the doors opened and it was a private view, and I did an hour with kids because I really want kids to see the art. So they'd come in with their parents, and an hour later it got shut down. Very rock and roll.
It was so rock and roll, though. It was so rock and roll, which is
rock and roll, bloody annoying. But actually, off the back of that, Soden, as you just mentioned, took me on, and it was called Seize the Moon, the show, and I am about to do Seize the Moon 2 in a not illegal space.
Nice. I like that you get another crack at it, because there's a lot of times when you throw an exhibition like that maybe that was your chance. That was your one moment. And I think that's probably where the frustrations lie with all that. Is that, oh my God, this was my opportunity. When actually, the fact that you did it in the way that you did it has had a springboard effect for you, because people are like, oh, not only is the art, Yeah. Not only was the art fantastic, because not only you didn't just have your artwork around, and it is beautiful, by the way. What I saw walking around there was great. We had Andy McEwen did a light thing for you, a light show. You had lots of people I saw coming in and out, curious. You had caterers there. You had everything. So I totally understand your frustrations, but just the way you did it, I think that was what was so appealing towards that. So bravo.
Well, I'm hoping, it does mean that there are lots of people who want to see the show, because although it is, it's called Seas of the Moon 2, TOO, so it's a second version of it, and it's got some of the work from the first show, but the work's kind of moved on, and I'm not someone who can kind of just repeat something at all. It wouldn't make sense. And also where we're doing it this time, we'll tell you in a minute, is it needed to be somewhere a bit more, a really different, because basically everyone walked into that gorgeous space, which is still empty and should be used by people all the time. It's so annoying. It's like a classic Shrewsbury nugget of joy just sitting there waiting to be used, and it's empty. Anyway, but the point being is that it was a very urban, exciting space. You walked in and you were like, wow, I didn't even know this existed. So I like to replicate that was quite hard, like to come up with something new that was kind of, anyway. So the new show is completely different in the sense that it's at Soulton Hall, which is out near Wem, quite a far out of town. So terrifying for me in terms of getting people there. I am scared about it, like genuinely, like it's an ask, isn't it? It's not like, can you just pop round the corner and have a look at some art? It's, can you get in the car? Can you drive, 20 minutes away? It's quite a lot to ask people. Anyway, the point being is that the show is in these beautiful converted barns, is part of the show. And then there's a second part of the show. I've kind of moved it on, and there's a piece which is outside on the land. And then you walk from the hall to this amazing long-barrow that they've built. And actually, you need to go and see this anyway. You need to go and talk to Tim, because he's fascinating. He's an amazing guy. But he's built this long-barrow. So long-barrow, Neolithical earth mound with which you go inside, and it's basically where people put their ashes. So it's kind of like a church. It's like a Neolithical church. It's like absolutely beautiful.
A Viking mortuary.
Yeah, basically. Which again is totally nuts, but it fits very well. Like, to find somewhere like that, it's all about Seas of the Moon, which don't actually exist, and the whole premise of the show, like we talked about before, is that it's about things that you think are there but aren't there, and that can be anything from unrequited love to there's lots to unpick, but there's a lot of connection with this building and the moon, and mental health, and everything. We're doing the show for charity, so it's for Papyrus, which is the young person's anti-suicide or prevention charity, and so there's loads of connections there. But what I love about the show is that we've kind of taken that kind of urban space and like done something completely different this time, and it's but with some of the works the same, but I've just moved it on a bit. So there's a sound installation by James Risdon, again, Jambon, who's a very cool local music artist. And there's a few little interesting sound pieces from me as well. And then some, there is a little bit of projection as well, if we can make it work, because there's no electrics in the long-barrow at all. So it will be lit by candles, it's going to be, I often, Alex, walk in there, so I've been going up there every week to kind of measure walls and generally try and get the troops in, getting organized for this. And every time I get there, I'm so moved by the place. There's something that's just really, It's like, like when you walk into a church that's got like a real spiritual, it's nothing to do with the G. It's nothing to do with the kind of, it's just, there's something really emotionally spiritual about it. And it's amazing.
I feel that
so
about
I'm really
a few places in Shrewsbury. So it's good that you've got that connection. And, if you can already start off by moving people with the environment before you've even seen the art, it's a very clever way of starting things off.
I hope so. And the thing is, I haven't actually physically put any paintings into the long-barrow. The idea originally was, when we first talked about it, I was going to install some massive paintings. I was going to hang banners from the ceiling, all this kind of stuff. And every time I went there, it was just, it speaks for itself so brilliantly that I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. What I need to do is get people there. I mean, I want to be buried there now. I want my ashes there now. I love it. I could spend a lot of time there. I think actually a friend of mine was saying we need to now build our own long barrow. This could be a new trend. Like we need to build our own long barrow because we want to hang out with all our mates in this kind of lovely party environment. It's beautiful. Anyway, I digress.
What I love about your work though, Sam, is it's all about reading between the lines. You see something on a page, but if you focus in and look at it, you feel your own unique connection to what is on the page, what is you're seeing in front of you. And that's what I love about abstract art. It's all about you as the individual, and that's I love it. I think it's very, very. But what I want to know is sort of what led you into this form of art. What attracts you to making these kind of
genuinely, I've been all over the place art wise. I went to art school in Birmingham. I went to Birmingham School of Art when I was 35, and I hadn't up until that point I'd worked in advertising and helped people, young creatives, get their own journey into being art directors and copywriters. So very commercial, very graphic design driven industries. Went to art school and it was all conceptual. Like everything was do a Tracy M in bed. It was all very, very highly pretentious conceptual art. And I absolutely love conceptual art. I absolutely love it. But I kind of found myself at the end of it going, how do you commercialize that? Unless you genuinely walk out and you've had a really, really good time with Lady Luck, and you walk out of art school, like the 90s Emin and Co did. How do you even do that? Like, where do you even go with that? And how do you do the bit in between? Because the bit in between is, I don't know, making a print or that you sell to local people, or doing a market and creating things. We've actually got to make a living as well. So long story short, I kind of left art school feeling a bit lost with my art. And I've always had ideas, and I had a little studio in the Market Hall, and I was doing Compost Kids Art School for a long time in the Market Hall. And so most of my stuff always had a conceptual idea to it, but it was much more graphic driven, I would say. Yeah. And then I had another baby, got many babies, but the one I had was about, I don't know, 8 years ago. And I picked up a paintbrush again and started painting, but actually thought it was all terrible, absolutely terrible. And then Instagram came along and I started photographing the work and looking at it in macro. So a bit like you're saying, you can kind of go in and look at a little bit of it and then you can really get lost in it. So, started photographing that macro stuff. And a very dear artist friend of mine, Teresa Clark, sent me this message and went, "You're a painter. I didn't realise you're a painter. Oh my God, hallelujah." It was like a kind of light shining down and going, that's what I am. And I still conceptually, I think I said this to you before, like everything has to have a conceptual thing behind it. Otherwise it is just painting. And I can't just paint. I have to have a kind of narrative behind it. Yeah. However, I love what you said, that, you can look at a painting and it's your interpretation of what I'm trying to communicate. So I actually don't care what, I know why I've painted something, But if you get something out of that, that's an amazing accomplishment, because my father just thinks it's crap on a piece of paper. You know, he's like, looks at it and just goes, you know, and my husband's like, oh, there's another circle. Oh God. You know, so it's nice that you say that.
I think the thing I can relate to it with is I don't know if anybody's ever seen it, but there's the Daredevil TV series on Netflix, and Wilson Fisk is the main bad guy, the Kingpin, and there's this really powerful build. You find out how he becomes what he is and the kind of violent background he has. And he'd sit on his bed and he'd stare at the wall, and it was kind of like that bubbly sort of effect thing. And he'd sit and he'd stare at it, and he'd lose himself in this thing. And when he becomes the Kingpin, he buys that very same bit of plaster wall, and he frames it, puts it on his wall, and he stares at it. And I love that. That is conceptual art.
It is completely, and it's whatever, you know. It is whatever inspires you. You know, it is like, you know, the whole. You know, we're so lucky in Shrewsbury, aren't we? There's so many amazing creative people here. You know,
yes.
Matt Saul, and you know, the big ones like the Charlie Adlars, and that, like there's amazing people, but there's also exactly you know, Cherie, like there are literally so many of them. Linda Edwards, like, you know, they're all prolific
and it brings
artists.
people in as well. It brings people like Mike Perkins.
It really does. Yeah, exactly. But I do. Where was I going with this? Where was I saying
that we're so lucky to be surrounded by so many artists?
Yeah, but and there's such a difference of. There's such a plethora of different types of art, and it's so, you know. But I can see a piece of, I don't know. I saw something Charlie Adlard did a couple of weeks ago, and it was from one of his comics. I've got one of his books, and I was reading through it, and it was a very monochromatic comic. I can't remember which one it is. It's bloody brilliant. Anyway, and I was referencing that to my abstract Seas of the Moon exhibition. You know, Then I went to the museum at the weekend and saw that Penguin Books exhibition.
Yes.
And literally must have been staring at that lovely big wall of the books. You know, that is just this massive wall of Penguin Books, and like looking at the different types of illustration, and you know, literally the colours merging. And like that was in my head. I think we're really, really lucky. We've got a really very inspirational town for that.
I think it's good that you have a license to be able to. I mean, there's a lot of towns where maybe they didn't have the inspiration we have around us in Shrewsbury, so it's hard to be like, I am an artist, you know, and people are like, oh, are you now, you know? Whereas like in Shrewsbury, it's kind of, oh, really? Well, I know such and such, and there's this, so maybe you can come to this event, and maybe there's lots of like arm around the shoulder, come with us, we'll help you nurture it. There's lots of peers, lots of young people learning from the peers. And I've seen that so much, especially at the Drawn, the illustrative fair, like you mentioned, Cherie, just. That's what blew me away is not just, it wasn't just like artists. It was, I'm an artist. I'm a normal person. I make art, and the person next to me is exactly the same of it, and I'm really proud of what I do. And that was quite striking.
I you know, it's really, really interesting to say that, because I think I've said this quite a lot recently. You know, my journey of becoming basically actually saying I'm an artist, I only did 5 years ago. For the first one, I just thought I literally imposter syndrome. Winging it. This isn't, and also, I'm doing something that a lot of people don't understand. So that, there's that famous, there's the my kid could do that kind of thing about it all. And it is a really, really, really tricky one. I went to the Drawn thing and did a day there, and I had the biggest imposter syndrome because I'm surrounded by incredible people who can draw and are really genuinely like old school in my head. When I went to school, that was what an artist is. It was someone who could draw brilliantly. My friends went to art school in the 90s, and they would do hours of life drawing, hours of technical, figurative, like learning their craft. Go to art school when I went, and you don't learn anything at all. So there's a slightly kind of fraudulent feeling that, you know, I've really had to kind of like battle through that to get to the other side. And the other thing I was going to say about it is there's no rules. There's no book that you can pick up other than now there's one, actually, a gallery's just written one about how you are an artist, like what's the way to do it. So, which is why I love things like Drawn, because that's proper entrepreneurs. That's why I love Instagram. That's why I love, you know, there is a way now to communicate your creativity and sell it. You know,
the way I say
cool.
it is, if you make something with your bare hands that moves someone, whether it be through fear, lust, whether it be through excitement or, you know, inspiration, if you make something that moves someone emotionally, that's art. You know, and that's a
and whether that's
thing.
a poem or whether that's, you know, a
music,
song, whether that's, you know, it is, and it's it is. I think as it's really interesting looking at Katie Rink's magazine, for example.
Shrewsbury, great guys, they do a great job.
So she's doing such an amazing job. But what's really amazing is that actually the arts dominate that magazine now. Within Shrewsbury, that it is absolutely what people want and what people talk about now is the art movement. I'm not talking about me, but I'm just talking about in general, you know, comics, Salopia, like all these different things would, you know, and obviously I work with Jess on the arts trail. We're doing another arts trail this year. That's going to be amazing. Cool. That's with Jonathan and Jess are curating an exhibition that's going to be in the museum with some really exciting pieces in there. So, like, they're really trying to pull out the big guns. They've got a Banksy coming. They've got some really big stuff coming. And then I'm also going to be putting out a brief for people to respond to a brief. And then I'm going to be curating the exhibition at the theatre. So that's going to be happening over the summer, and there's going to be another trail and all the local cafes are going to be doing art exhibitions, and it's just really cool. But you know, I think that's a combination of how brilliant the town, like how brilliant we are, and how many artists there are out there. But more importantly, that the town actually wants it, that they're interested in it.
And this is what I was gonna say is, like, if you're listening to this thing and going, oh, what is she talking about? I don't see any of this. People aren't interested in art. Thousands of people came to see Drawn. Like that first day, thousands of people. The second day, it was just it was nuts. Like I didn't believe it until, like, because the last one in the summer, I could only attend the setup. I wasn't there for the day. Whereas the second one, the beginning of the year, I got to set up and see how it all flowed and stuff. And I was absolutely gobsmacked at how many people came in to look at art, to buy art, to speak to artists. Like Gary Drew was just behind me. You may remember him from a very badly sounding podcast we did not long ago. He painted the flamingo on the Seven Social. He's got artwork all across the town. And he constantly had someone watching him work, talking to him, learning from him. And it's people like him, you, Cherie, Tat FB, all these people that offer so much knowledge and inspiration to up-and-coming artists or people just that appreciate art. It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really, really good. And it's exciting. And the other thing I was going to say is they're going to be doing a sculpture tour. There's a sculpture trail as well, this one.
Wow.
And that's going to be pretty amazing. Do you know who Andrew Logan is?
Andrew Logan? No, but
no. So you need to get. He's amazing. He's a really good friend of Zandra Rhodes, who's the fashion designer, and I think he was a baddie in a Bond film as well. But I think I might have made that up. He just looks like one. Anyway, but he's a very, very famous, quite iconic artist, and he has a sculpture park. Or in his garden, he has a sculpture thing near Welshpool, I believe. And he is going to be lending some of his really big pieces.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he's got his own Wikipedia page. Wow,
yeah, so that's really cool. But I did want to tell you, because I'm very conscious of time for you, but I did want to tell you a little bit.
I've got another hour, but I don't want to keep you. We're being so polite. I don't want to keep you. No, I don't want to keep you. Yeah.
I did want to tell you a little bit about the show, so it starts on the 18th. So the private view on the 18th at Soulton Hall.
Yes.
And then on the 19th, there is a open day. It's completely free to come along. Come and look at the art. You can come and see the long-barrow. There's loads of artwork that the kids can do. So there's going to be lots of craft activities. Everything's free. There's also Hopefully Lit Made, the lovely coffee shop in town, are going to be doing a pop-up coffee shop. And they're also going to be doing a very cool screen print workshop. Now, the workshop is basically going to be a huge piece of canvas that anyone turns up can do a print onto. And then we're going to turn that into a massive piece of art and stretch it afterwards. So it's really special. So it's going to be like a collaborative piece. And it's got a kind of nod to the moons that I do as well. And then on the Sunday, Docket 33, who are the guys in Whitchurch, the Michelin plated restaurant in Whitchurch, Stuart Collins and Fran have designed a Seas of the Moon very cool menu. Okay,
Wow.
so this is really cool. So on the Sunday, it's going to be 5 p.m. on Sunday, and you turn up and we go to the long-barrow first, and then there's like cocktails at the long-barrow, and then you go back to the house and there's like a beautiful, I think they're cooking trout from the river outside on fire, and then there's a beautiful meal downstairs, and then you go upstairs. Anyway, all of it includes a hand-painted invitation with a painting on the back from me that's individual, that's completely unique, signed and dated, and then an NFT as well. And you get all that for your ticket. And it's all going to be raising money for Papyrus. So there's quite a lot going on, and it's quite difficult to communicate it all. Sorry, someone keeps sending me messages, so I'm not trying to...
It's fine.
So there's loads going on. So Friday's the private view. Saturday is open to the public and will be really fun. And I really want to encourage people to come to that with their kids, because I've done a lovely little moonwalk where you kind of go from the hall to the long-barrow, and they have to spot all the moons along the way. And it's really cute. It's going to be a really lovely weekend. That's why I'm a bit stressed.
Yeah. Well,
I'm mad, really.
Well, this is the thing, right? You are constantly working and busy and stuff. I mean, I remember the first time we actually met. Do you remember this? Outside the market hall?
Yes. What was I doing, though?
You grabbed me. Yeah. And you were like, "You're the biscuit guy," and I was kind of like, "Yeah, that's me." And you were like, "I've got this cool little art thing. I can't really say much until like the day, but you're coming, right?" And I was like, "Okay." I didn't hear anything off you, and then you're like, "Yo, you're coming." I was like, "Okay." So I just went knowing what to expect, and it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. So I'm always happy to help you, Sam, because you do a lot. You work hard. You do a lot for the local art scene, and you're like an art rock and roll star. You really are amazing at what you do.
Thanks. Thank you. I just hope the work. So this is the bit where you start like really yourself. So I've got 2 weeks to go, and I've still got 4 empty canvases. And I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning going, I don't know what's going on these canvases. And I think today I went to Hopefully Made to do some printing today for the show. And I think I've finally kind of got my ideas, but it's really stressful because as you get kind of more under pressure to do the work is when you get kind of stunted creatively. So it's a bit of a kind of really difficult, weird time. I don't know if that happens to you, if you're kind of like, when you know, and I even just like talking talking is quite exhausting, right? And that's what you do for a living. But when you're under pressure and you've got loads going on and you're managing all the other things, it's quite frustrating.
I've always said I can talk about the inside of a ping pong ball for about an hour and a half. I really could. It's one of my thing I do. The hardest thing staying on is being professional and thinking about improvising, blah, blah, blah. Everything I do is ad lib. These are the notes I'm making. This is my to-do list. And there's the dates that you've just told me. I don't have notes. It's just conversation, because I feel like if I'm like, what is your favorite color? What instrument? I feel like that kind of loses the magic of what we're doing.
The vibe. Yeah.
But what I was going to ask you is, you're talking about, I love it. Is, you talk about you've got a deadline and you got to get these things done. Do you feel like you make your best art when you're just free to do what you like, or does that deadline actually help you in a way?
Bit of both. I mean, I've got a day job as well, so I do a day job 3 days a week working in London, and I know that if I've got more pressure, I get more shit done. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just think that we are, my lovely friend Claire, who helps me with everything, says, today we're going to eat a frog. That's our thing. So if you're going to eat a frog, you're going to do all the crap bits that you don't want to do. Like I'm the one that does their tax return on the 28th and gives it to the accountant, who rolls their eyebrows and oh my god, here we go again, Sam. But I suppose my point being is, I think pressure's really good for some things.
Yeah.
For creativity, not always so good, especially when I'm curating a show, because the problem is that I have now, I've got Docket making this beautiful meal, and I've got these 4 spaces for these 4 massive canvases.
Yeah.
And I'm just always slightly worried that I'm just going to quickly, while you're here, because I'm in the studio, so that's all work for the show. Hang on. But I just wanted to show you this. So
this is cool. We're on the
this
move.
Is cool.
Folks.
You're on the move. So this is all work for the show.
Wow, the size of that canvas.
Yeah,
wow.
So that's a big one. But this is the biggest one. And so this has been like sitting. Hang on. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yeah, I see that. We lost you for a second there. Oh, I think she's gone to a bit where there's no signal. That's what's happened.
Damn it. Connection's too bad. Sorry.
Did you see it? I took a screenshot of the big... Yeah.
Okay, so that big one... So this is a really good example, right? So that big one was like, I did that one, and it's the biggest canvas of the show. So it's a 2 meter by 140 canvas. Biggest thing I've ever done. And I nailed it in a day. And I was like, so then you give yourself a bit of a false sense of security. You're like, brilliant. Like, if I'm doing one of those in a day, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got 4 blank ones that I just can't do. Like 4 of them. And I'm just staring at them going, I don't know how to do the next one, because that's quite nice.
What's the thing that clicks to take from what's in your mind onto a canvas? What's the thing that kind of the catalyst for it? Is it like I don't know, are you watching a movie and think, oh, I need to do it now, or do you listen to a bit of music, or how do you take your ideas and put them into
so I was actually reading an article the other day about how there's a lot of artists that have a very kind of set rituals and routines in their day. My husband will tell you, I cannot ritual. I cannot do anything the same way any day, every single day is different. I've got 4 kids, but 3 who, that we have to organize all the time. And so for me, it's so sporadic when I'm in the office. And when you can. And as and when I can do it. So therefore, I can crack on a bit of Hunky Dory or The Mission. I've got a lovely little record player, and I have like 3 or 4 records that I play a lot over and over again, and that's when I'm in the zone. I love that. I say I'm going to listen to podcasts. I have a massive list on my wall of podcasts, and I never get round to listening to them.
I'm the same. I'm a podcaster.
Yeah, and it's so weird that most of the time I get work done is in complete silence. And it's so weird. So I'm a loud person. I love music. I love listening to voices. I love listening to stories. But actually, what I think is my most kind of ritualistic thing is to actually paint in silence, because I don't have that any other time in my life. So that's when I'm in the zone, really. It's actually, I don't listen to anything. I might start and then it might be 2 hours later David Bowie's finished one side, and it's still silent, and it's just been like, oh my god, that was amazing, you know.
Yeah.
So
you do appreciate those. I love those times when you can disappear into your art. I mean, like when I'm making a vlog, this isn't in comparison to what you do, but like when I'm editing a vlog, I'm using two hands, got one on my touchpad, one on my mouse, and I'm kind of click, click, drag, click, 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 snip, snip, click, click, drag, snip. And, 2.5 hours can go, bam. And I'm like, whoa, it's dark outside already. What's going on? And it's because I'm in the zone. I find, because I create like beds for when I'm on the radio to talk over. Music bed is like music you talk over. And I like lo-fi. I really like lo-fi. I think it's got that kind of coffee shop bloom.
Yeah, I love that.
Really sexy stuff. So I'll find these beds, but I'm kind of like, oh, they have these 3-hour-long play songs, and I'm kind of like, oh, I can just sit and vibe to that stuff all day. It kind of really gets me going. It's quite cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Here's that screenshot I took, by the way, of your art. It's very blurry,
so,
but that's kind of what I took.
So that's been sitting. This is just kind of a tiny little bit of the kind of creative process, right?
Yeah.
That has been in my head. It's a show-stopping piece that, as you walk up the stairs into the show, is straight ahead of me, and it's been, I won't tell you the full name, but it was going to be called The Reservoir or something. And I'll come back to that in a second. But basically, it's been as a landscape the whole time. Someone turned it round to move it slightly, and it's now a portrait, and it looks so much better. I'm now going to have to go back and recreate half of the rest of the room to make space for it. It's so weird, but there is a continual kind of creative process going on. So it's not just about doing the painting, it's about what painting will go next to what painting, what flows, the story itself. So the story itself is slightly different this time. So it's still very much about not what you think is there isn't there. It's not what you think is one of the neons that I've had done, which I'm very excited about. It's really lovely. It's 2 meters long. I love your neon
stuff, by the way. Those t-shirts I missed out on, the ones with the
dots. You can still order one of those. I can sort you out with one of those.
I love them. I think they're so brilliant.
Thank you. But the neons I'm talking about is like light neon. Like a Tracy Emin neon. So I've got 2 of those in the show as well. And why was I telling you about those? So anyway, part of the extension of this is that the titles are actually not even titles of things that are on the moon. So bodies of water that are completely made up by me. So there's a kind of extension to the kind of, it's definitely not there because it's all a lie kind of thing. So that's quite cool as well, I think. Kind of
that time, kind of like, that's definitely a thing, and then it takes some people. No, it's not. But at the time, I kind of believed it. You know what I mean?
Oh well, listen. Thank you so much for having me.
No, this has been awesome.
Oh my god, honestly. It's been. I feel like we've been meaning to do this for ages, and I love it when I'm like, "You want to do it now? Yeah, let's do it now." Love that.
Yeah, well, I did have I had a cancellation. But
love that. I'll be your sloppy seconds any day. Don't you worry.
No, because for the listeners, we were talking like 2 days ago, like we need to organise something. I was kind of like, "Ooh, I know someone who's eager to chat," so I've messaged you straight away. You were the first person I messaged.
Oh, thank you, darling. And if you're around with your lad on the Saturday, do come and see it all, because I think it will be beautiful.
I'll bring a camera.
And please, and on the Friday, if you want to come to the private view, just let me know. Okay. And if anyone wants to book tickets for the Sunday, for the docket thing, which is really special, genuinely very, very special experience, because it'll never happen again. It's just a one-off day. That is going. The tickets are on the Soden Collection website. So if you go onto my Instagram, Sam Pooley-Stride, and click through on my bio, you'll get the ticket information.
And for an added bit, like, make sure you follow everything that the Soden Collection are doing as well, because they do an awful lot for local cool artists. Stuff. And Jonathan, if you're going to watch this, we kind of been flirting around the idea of putting a show together for a while, but it's one of those things, isn't it, where I'm busy, he's busy. So eventually I will get to Jonathan Soden. You're not like cool. On the bottom of the list. It's more a case of let's do it properly, Sam, you're awesome. Thank you so much for chatting
Love
to
you,
me today and
darling. We'll
coming in
see you
last minute.
soon, Alex. Take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Bye,
much.
darling. Bye.
See you now.
Bye.
Right, so that was amazing. Sam is awesome, and that was a very last minute thing. I was like, oh, well, a cancellation. Would you like to come on the podcast? And she was like, yes. I was like, all right, give me 10 minutes, and we set that up. So I love chatting to her, and thank you so much for the last minute thing. Before we go, I want to tell you a bit about what's going on with the biscuit. Make sure you follow the Horses and Biscuits episodes that we've been doing. They're kind of becoming a bit more sporadic at the moment. We were trying to do them every 2 weeks, but life is life, and this is what happens with things. Horses and Biscuits is where we are following the Rocking Horse production of the Karen Care Home TV pilot. But it's also moved on to the Izzy versus Jess feature film that they're making at the moment. You may have seen the vlog that I released on YouTube. If not, make sure you go check that out and give the YouTube a subscribe as well. If you're watching this, you're most likely on YouTube anyways. Give us a subscribe, please. But yeah, we're following everything that they are doing. So that's Horses and Biscuits. You'll find out, you can pick up those episodes and you can learn about the progression of this thing that they're putting together, and it's a really cool story. And we'll continue doing that until everything is released, and we've got the complete story there. So that's Horses and Biscuits. Also, as well, we are going to be going to a lot of festivals and events. We were recently at Kids Fest at the weekend, so huge shout out to the organisers there. Shropshire Festivals, of course, Beth Heath, but Claire as well, who's been organised, who was like my go-to person on the emails, and everyone that came and spoke to us. We spoke to a lot of the vendors there. A lot of the Timmy was at the studio interviewing some of the other children. We put a vlog together. We had a great time. But also, I want to say like, we can come to festivals. We do have a virtual studio, so if you want the biscuit at an event, it doesn't have to be a big, huge festival. If it's something like what Sam is putting on, if you want us to set up a table, microphones, and speak to people as they come, speak to whoever's there, please get in touch. Our email is shrewsburybiscuitpodcast@gmail.com. But you can also get in touch with us via the website as well, which is the shrewsburybiscuitpodcast.co.uk. All of our content is available on there. Up to a point. I'll update it as much as I can. But you can press play off the website and it will play the audio straight off there. But of course, all of our content is also available on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, or wherever you get your podcast through, and YouTube too. We've kind of released the audio on there. So there's plenty of places to catch us. Our website is made for our good friends at Web Orchard. I'm looking for a slide that's got the Web Orchard logo, but it doesn't seem to have it. There we go. Where is it? There we go. It's powered by Web Orchard. There you go. You can see it there. Web Orchard, they make an amazing website. They look after the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast and the You Suck stuff that I do as well. And they are great at what they do. They'll make a website for anything that you need, whether it's Etsy, whether you have a business, an event, a podcast, you've got a band, whatever it is you need, they will make the perfect website for you. So go and have a look at Web Orchard and make sure you said that the biscuit sent you, because I'll get a pat on the back by the owner, Pete White. Okay, I'm going to get out of here. This has been great. Thank you for listening. Thank you to Sam for coming and chatting to me. And we will catch you guys next time. Peace out.